It is annoying to have a voice inside our heads whose only job is to remind us of our mistakes and things we are not good at. But what if I told you that this voice is not you? This voice is basically the results of habits you have picked up over time without even realizing it. Habits that are making this inner critic louder and louder. So before they take a toll on your self-esteem, it is important to address them. So here are 7 habits that might be the reason you have started to hate yourself. The first habit is carrying a false persona. Maybe you are someone who acts differently at work or online. Maybe you act funnier or more adventurous because someone once told you you are funny and they would like to hang out with you. Or you might be having a tough time but don't want to worry your friends and family, so you pretend that everything is fine. People seem to like this act, so you keep doing it even if it's not really you. But what most of us don't realize is that if you are constantly pretending to be someone you are not, you start to dislike the false persona you present to the world, and by extension yourself, for creating it. This act can only lead to feeling of guilt, building constant pressure to keep up with this false image that can be mentally exhausting, like running a race that never ends. But there is another habit that is so subtle you might not even realize you are doing it. A habit that is quietly making you dislike yourself. It's a habit of not letting yourself be happy. Imagine you are someone who's always been told that you are not good enough, like a child who constantly hears that they should be more like their sibling. You hear it so much that you start to believe it, and you think that no matter what you do, it's never good enough. And after a while, you start to feel like you don't deserve to be happy. Now you think wanting to be happy is selfish, so you listen to that little voice in your head that tells you not to get your hopes up. It reminds you of all the time that things went wrong when you let yourself feel happy. But you might not realize when feelings of regret and self-blame grows to be unbearable, it can lead to self-hatred and keeps you from re-engaging with life. This is where Jordan Peterson, a renowned psychologist, suggests confronting the past. When you are stuck with something and there is no escaping from it, the right attitude is to turn around and confront it. The reason you are still holding on to your past trauma and failures is because you have not learned everything you can from these experiences. So the best thing to do is look at these experiences and understand what went wrong, and use that knowledge to avoid making the same mistakes in the future. But here's the thing, as we peel back the layers of not letting ourselves be happy, we often find another habit lurking beneath the surface. This is the habit of failing to accept compliments. Now this habit might seem like a small thing, but consistently deflecting compliments can have a serious impact on your self-perception over time. Because when you fail to accept compliments, you are basically saying, I'm not worthy of this compliment and I don't deserve to be praised. This only feeds our negative self-beliefs, leading to a cycle of inner self-hatred. But what we fail to realize is that compliments are like gifts. When someone gives you a gift, it's not about being polite. You have to accept that gift, because accepting compliments helps you affirm your self-worth and helps you break the cycle of negative self-talk. But you might not know that this habit doesn't exist in isolation. It's often linked with another habit that can make you feel even worse about yourself, and that is being insecure. Insecurity is a complex emotion that can make us act in ways that don't align with our true selves. It often leads us to compare ourselves with others, especially in environments like workplace. For instance, seeing successful colleague might trigger us to measure our own aspirations and abilities. This comparison, however, is often one-sided because we are comparing our worst with their best, seeing only glimpses of their perfection rather than the full picture, including their struggles and failures. This habit can also drive us to please others due to fear of rejection and strong desire for acceptance. Imagine someone being insecure about their sense of humor. They might laugh at jokes that they don't even find funny, or tell jokes that don't align with their own sense of humor, in all attempts to fit in. Similarly, someone who is insecure about their appearance might spend a lot of time dressing in a way they think others will find attractive, even if it's not their own preference. However, when we try to please others at the expense of our own happiness, we end up agreeing with opinions we don't hold, or spending time with people who don't respect us. And over time, this can lead to loss of self-identity and feeling of emptiness, as we are not being true to ourselves which is similar to carrying a false persona. But this habit is not the only culprit. There is another habit that can sneak up on us and take away our self-esteem, and that is being indecisive. Maybe you are someone who finds it difficult to make decisions. It's not about big life decisions, it's about the small ones, like choosing a restaurant or a movie. Or sometimes you find yourself going along with other people's choices, ending up in places you don't want to be and doing things you don't enjoy. This indecisiveness can lead to doubting your own abilities, especially when you see other people making decisions with ease. This self-doubt can spiral into more indecisiveness, which then leads to more self-hate. So it's best to make decisions you can with the information you have at the time. It's not about making the perfect decision. The person who knows what's best for you is you. So trust in your abilities, take back control, and start making decisions that are right for you. Now this is where things gets interesting. There is another habit that often goes hand in hand with indecisiveness, and that is keeping gratification over responsibilities. Imagine spending an entire day with video games, watching movies, or scrolling on social media. After spending a day like this, you would get depressed at night and regret not doing anything productive, only to repeat the same habits the next day. And this is the power of habit. Once a habit becomes part of your identity, it becomes difficult not to do it, which can lead to a downward spiral of hating yourself. You see, playing games all day is fun, no doubt, but it often comes at a cost of our long-term goals. The only way to get rid of your bad habit is to understand the consequences it brings. This brings us to the one last habit, and that is feeling guilty for taking time for yourself. This is often seen in people who are codependent, who are always there for others, but forget to take care of themselves. Imagine someone who puts their friends' needs before their own, such as always helping them move, lending them money, or listening to their problems even when they themselves are going through a tough time. Likewise, if you are in codependent relationship with a partner who has an addiction, you will constantly put your partner's needs before your own and blame yourself for not being able to fix them. In both cases, self-blame and constant self-neglect can only lead to feeling of self-hatred. The best thing you can do for them is simply be there to listen when they need to talk, and be honest about your own situation instead of trying to show a false persona. Most people are not aware that codependency is a pattern of behavior that human brain learns by watching others who are codependent. That's why it's important to understand the psychology behind codependency and how it is connected to our childhood experiences. I highly recommend checking out this video where I have explained a simple steps to overcome it.